Rock and roll. So we here. All right.
All
So I got
right,
the
we are recording now.
woohoo.
Welcome, everybody, to this first event ever that we know of in the DJ world. Hanging out with Howie and my friend Dave Sporn, aka DJ Duke, on his Twitch channel simultaneously. How are you, Dave?
I'm good. How you doing, Howie?
Doing good, doing good. This is very interesting. I'm tempted right now to, just for science, I am going to turn on the sound on the other computer.
All right. We're doing a little experiment.
And yes,
There we go.
we do have the lag then. So yeah, this is working out good this way, as long as I keep the other computer silent. So how things been for you? You just did a wedding.
Yeah, I had my first wedding of wedding season yesterday. Actually, someone I grew up with as a kid, so it was like kind of cool. Him and his younger brother, it's Jewish wedding. Went well. I was lucky the girlfriend helped me out because I'm lacking a van now, and I had to bring a ton of gear. But went super well. Outdoor wedding, COVID safe, actually super safe. Everyone was masked up, like good number of people. Everything was super spread out, outdoors. So yeah, went well. One thing I did a little differently is I used all wired microphones for everything instead of wireless microphones. And that wasn't an issue. We were just like, there's a lot of stuff in that area. And I was just really worried about like finding a signal or something interfering and batteries. And I got plenty of cable, so ran wired microphones for everything. And it wasn't
I
an
think that
issue.
was a wise move. I noticed that these different award shows and the so-called live shows that on TV, I see they're all using wired mics.
Yeah, and it's another one of those, like God forbid there's like some type of impedance. Last thing I want is like a CV radio coming through like breaker whatnot. This is probably Princeton Mama Bear. You read me Mama Bear in the middle of like a wedding ceremony while the rabbi is talking. Like so I don't even want to take a chance on that. But like it was good. It was good. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I see your schedule is full for the rest of the month. Awesome.
I'm lucky. I'm glad to be back to work. Glad to be back on the road. So I'm gonna be up near you at Fairleigh Dickinson.
Yeah, I did that venue, that college years ago, and it's not a secret. I'm not insulting them because the students themselves refer to it as fairly ridiculous.
They still do. That hasn't changed. So yeah, it's still fairly ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, that hasn't changed at all. So it's cool. So
I read that article that you posted on your wall about nostalgia.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was very interesting. My point of view is I don't look at music as nostalgia, and the way that we use it, just my opinion, it's not nostalgia. It's just good music and how you program it and how they react to it. I just love that. Ooh, and then they rush the dance floor, or they're walking off the dance floor and that song comes on and they go, ooh, and they turn around and I got to dance to this one. I mean, that's just my take on it. I don't look at it as nostalgia. It's just, that good.
That was part of the thing. So the whole thing for everyone that's listening, it was a piece on pop punk, or in emo music, which is we'll take like 1990s till like 2010. That's your Fall Out Boy, your Blink 182, some of your Green Day. That's your Dear Maria, Count Me In, the Check Yes Juliet, the Yellow Card, all of that kind of stuff. And it's because it was like upbeat and fun, but also about like serious, depressing, like sad stuff. And it's like the kind of stuff that any high schooler, teenager can kind of relate to, but with like a hard rock kind of sound. So in point A, it's like kind of nostalgia, but also the kids that are coming up now that know that Fall Out Boy song that came out when I was in high school, 10, 15 years ago, they know that song too, because it's relatable content. It's not just nostalgia. It's, you can get it. And, it's not a phase,
I'm
Mom.
a big fan of it. I really am. I actually have a crate that goes all the way up to, 2010 with that. And I keep adding more and more to it. I like it.
It's relatable content,
It is. And it's not just to kids. It's relatable to adults as well.
Because we've all been there. It's, looking at it in, like some of the Blink-182 songs that, I grew up listening to. It's the same thing as like a Bob O'Reilly by The Who, where, Teenage Wasteland, everyone can kind of relate to that.
Yes.
At the same time, there's like Blink-182's What's My Age Again? Nobody likes you when you're 23. It's like 23 is like a weird year. You're not out of college. You got a real job. Well, your boss at your real job doesn't like you. You're just past being an intern. You're no longer in college anymore. Like, you can kind of relate to it and understand. And it doesn't matter that the song came out in, 2001, I think, so it's, yeah. So we can talk about that all day. It's music. But actually, Howie, let's talk about you for a second.
All right.
Speaking about punk rock.
Well, we are interviewing each other.
Yeah. So speaking about punk rock, you kind of came up in the DJ and lighting and sound world, working at some of the most famous clubs that hosted some of, dare I say, the most famous punk rock and rock bands that have ever existed. CBGB and the Kansas, please.
Kansas City.
Thank you. I couldn't,
yes.
It's funny. Max is the name of my grandfather. So like, I don't know how I messed that one. Max's Kansas City, where you worked and DJ'd for, and not only DJ'd, but doing lighting and sound for like groups like Blondie and the Ramones.
Yeah. Talking Heads, before they became famous, which was kind of cool, cause it really was not a big club, and believe it or not, I mean, those people never really played venues like Van Halen or something like that. It was tough for them to get work. So they played a lot of those small New York clubs and then, around the country. I did sound for them at a local club that was, it was famous at the time because the drinking age was 18 and the parking lot held 800 cars. So I did sound and lights for them at this big club in Jersey. But yeah, it was an amazing time. And I must say, I'll say it publicly again, most of the bands were crap. They were brought in by A&R guys. Look, we want to showcase. And they were basically copying other groups. I mean, the one guy gets up there and breaks a beer bottle and rolls around, and I'm like, hey, Iggy Pop did that 5 years ago, dude. It's not new,
So I was actually about to mention that exact situation of like, you were telling a story in the Here We Are in the Chill Room about, you're like, Iggy Pop did that 5 years ago. Like, who are you? And it's just like, for me looking at it, if there was no Iggy Pop, no Ramones, there would have been no Green Day, no Blink-182,
right.
No Anthrax, no Sum 41. And if it weren't for guys doing what you were doing, fixing speakers and engineering lighting rigs and programming these things on such crude equipment,
it really was.
And the other thing is that a lot of people don't know is you're also an electrician. So building and fixing these things, like, you actually know how to do this.
Well, that's how I got in. I was like that kid. Oh my gosh. Almost Famous, that movie with the real young kid. I was that kid. I told my girlfriend Lori this story about, when I was 13, it was $1.85 to take a bus to New York. And I went to New York. And I was like, whoa, this is awesome. And as I got older, I believe I was 15 or 16, I started hanging around, and I would do anything that they wanted. And then something broke one day, and I said, "Oh, I can fix that." I went, "Really? You?" And yeah, and I did. And, I wasn't into the drug scene, didn't drink, and it just was a natural progression. One night, the sound guy was just so wasted. They said, "Howie, you're going to run the soundboard." And I did that, and they just, they kept me on. And they even had me come in for special showcases. And I said, "Well, what do you need me to do?" And they said, "We just want you to be here in case something goes wrong." And then after that, that's when I got the contract to be the house light and sound guy at Max's for 3 years. And those were, they were fun times. But the truth is, I didn't make a lot of money in New York. I just got a nice reputation where I made my real money in the clubs in Jersey.
So would you say it was like an internship almost, where you got the experience and you learned some things, built up a reputation, and then took it elsewhere?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I was in bands, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to New York and be a rock star. And then I see a kid younger than me that I could practice the rest of my life, and I'm never going to be as good as these people. And I thought, I better find another skill. So I started doing, the producing with the sound and lighting and so forth. And that I just took to naturally, and I just happened to get good at it quick, because I had the background from the industrial high-speed automation. I just took right to it, and the rest is history. And here I am still, and I get called. Okay, boom, hey, we need to do lights out in Vegas, and like, okay, sure, I'll be there.
That's so beautiful. And so, like,
it is.
Circa when were you at Max's?
Well, there were actually 3 Max's Kansas Cities. There was the original owner, and then he sold it, I believe, in 79. So I came to the second one with the new owner, and that was the one that lasted the longest through that punk era. Mm-hmm. And that was the era that I was in. So it was like 79 to like 84. And then after that, it got sold and moved somewhere else. It only lasted a year. But my years were 79 to about 84.
That's a really good run. Because I've been in the nightclub industry since I started DJing. And a venue one to last more than a year is a miracle. Last more than 5 years, it's almost unheard of. 10 years, well, you're just ancient at that point. 10 years, oh my God, like it's unheard of. And
I know. I grew up quick. I mean, I wasn't even old enough to drink, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun, being in New York, and it just, I don't know. It's one of those things where, preparation met opportunity, and there it was. They said, "Okay, you're our guy now." Like they knew I wasn't going to go off somewhere and get, blasted out of my brain. And
well, you were too young to drink.
We need somebody to run the soundboard.
As I crack a beer, like
have at it.
I say this, but is what it is. Yeah, Howie, that's incredible. Like honestly, and the stuff you guys were doing with dimmer packs and chase controllers and the gear you had to build. It's not like you could just program some shit on a computer and DMX it. Like back then, people didn't know what the internet was.
Right.
I think it was 76 or 74 that Queen Elizabeth sent an email. So the internet wasn't even a thing for us at that point. You can't just Google, how do I program a light show?
Well, Al Gore didn't invent the internet yet, so.
Well said, my friend.
Now let me ask you something. You have done some very high-profile college events where there's big money involved with these sororities and so forth. Now, how did you stumble upon $30,000 and $40,000 budgets for that sort of thing?
So I started off I started off doing like house parties, like for some of my friends. And, I had a sound system and I started, getting some gear, learning and practicing and building, and one thing leads to another. And then, from there, then I start doing some like fraternity shows and accumulating more stuff and getting some, real experience and practicing. And then I got an opportunity when I was on tour after me and another DJ had put out a couple of mashup albums. And like, that's back in like in the mashup era when it was like, it was a thing in the mid 2000s.
Right. I
got an opportunity to manage a nightclub in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And I'd immediately drop out of college and move down to Chapel Hill, never moving out of my parents' house. And like, it was a thing. And, I just like you at Max's Kansas City, I look at it like an internship. I learned how to manage a club. I learned how to run a bar. I learned about booking and contracts and things to look for, all while I'm on tour, booking my own shows all over at the same time. So like Monday through Friday, I'd be in Chapel Hill doing, nightclub stuff, anything. And I was also living with the owner of the club, which is also like looking back, the worst idea I could have ever had. And what's up, Tony? Tony Fernandez is in the chat right now. What up, Tony? So like, it's the worst idea I could have ever had. And I had a room that was like a 10 by 10, and like if that, it was like the worst thing ever. And I'm paying like $500 a month for it. And then like Friday through Sunday, I'm on the road, and then like rinse and repeat. And the owner, so like, and then at the same time, there's this spot in Richmond that opens up that I get an opportunity to throw some shows, and the owner just gives me carte blanche on whatever I want to do. I got my own door girl, I got my own security, I can bring in my own artists, pay my own promoters. Door money is mine, bar money is his. Like that's it. All right. And we've got a great agreement. And I start linking up with some of the fraternities and sororities from University of Richmond, and us, even some other colleges in the area. And one thing leads to another, and we start bringing in big artists, and I'm opening for them and I'm closing for them, and I'm dealing with the hotels and the riders and stuff like that. And then I'm also playing a lot of college campus shows at the same time, again, all up and down the East Coast and even like Canada. And we're bringing in guys, Scribble, Gazzo, Pierce Fulton. I mean, just, we brought in Lil Dicky, and that just booking him alone was $10,000. And then we had security, and we had the police officer, and we had the hotel, and like everything else. Like we looked at the numbers afterwards, and we're like, this was a $30,000 show, and we still turned a profit, like a good profit, like more than like what Mark Farrell tells you should be making at a wedding kind of profit. And don't get me wrong, I've had nights where I've lost $3,000. Like you book an artist, they come in, suddenly freak snowstorm, no one comes out, I'm stuck with the bill. But the bad nights are far less than the good nights. And then I link up with some other guys that are doing like some of their own like college tour stuff, and then I'm up and down the East Coast. So I've been very fortunate in that I've gotten open for some major artists. I've played in front of, a few thousand people. I've gotten to do, some decent music festivals. Like I ain't done Ultra yet, but so I've been very fortunate to be able to do that, all while I'm still doing weddings and proms and bar mitzvahs all at the same time. And so yeah, I've been super lucky. I've played Greek Week at some very big schools. I like did Hampton Sydney like 10 years in a row doing Greek Week. And I think the smallest show we did was 800 people. There's even a video of me like stage diving and stuff at like 29. And my parents are like, you got to stop that, because what if someone doesn't catch you and you land on concrete? Like, I'll be fine, Well,
so, I'm going to take issue with one thing you said.
What'd you say?
I don't think it was luck. Your story sounds very, very much like mine.
It's opportunity met being prepared.
Yes, that's luck. And you were prepared, and it followed suit. One thing I must say that I admire about you right now, nobody's working and you're out doing yard work and pressure washing houses to pay the bills. You know, I think that's an honorable thing to do. And now you've got a full schedule for the next coming month or so. And I think you're going to do well. And I just wanted to tell you that. I really admire that. And I'm so happy that I became friends with you. I really think that the future of the industry is in good hands with people like you. And the fact that you're willing to work with, you know, seasoned DJs, you know, it's just it's wonderful, you know.
Well, I gotta thank you, and it's you know, it's funny, you know, so like right now, what people may or may not know, we're in the Disc Jockey News TV chill room, and
yes,
it's something you guys you know, put out when, you know, like the pandemic hit, you know, because you had the chill room at conferences, and this is like virtual chill room. And so I started doing, you know, the yard work and stuff because I was like, I still got to pay bills and I've got no gigs. And you know, when we went under quarantine, I immediately lost $20,000 like that day from just canceled gigs when the governor was like, we're going under quarantine, and everyone just, I got tours canceling. I've got, you know, I lost more shows than I could talk about, weddings that canceled. I mean, just, it was the most depressing day of my life. And I just got to a point of like, I gotta make money. And I'm like, I got a lawnmower at my parents' house, and my roommate's a mechanic, or was a mechanic. Like, let's get the sumbitch running and like see what we can do. Like, and then we get that running, and like just the sound of that lawnmower running, I'm like, it's the sound of hope. Like, you know, and, you know, so I went out and started cutting grass, and then like my van died, like on top of that, but like all of that stuff aside. And so, you know, I'm thinking about everything, and I'm working at it, and I'm working with a guy that, he's a recovering alcoholic, you know, doing some yard work for him. And he's telling me about AA and talking to people that like understand what you're going through and things like that. And I kept seeing stuff about the chill room, and I'm like, you know, let's check it out one night. And I end up in there, and I've spent like 6-7 hours and talking to you, Nick Hahn, who I already knew, and Jay Brandon, who I already knew, and Brian, who I also like knew, but like I didn't know him like that, you know, like we talked at conferences, and I watched all of his videos when I was first coming up in the industry. But like just being able to talk to other DJs that are going through the same thing that I'm going through. And like, even if we're just talking about music, or he's like, you know, Brian will throw out like, name your best song from 2010. Like if Brian asks you like, what do you got from 2010? Like, what's your go-to song? And he does like a round robin, and it's like another year. Like, give me your best soul song. Or like, we're doing like almost like drills.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about,
we know it, it's 5 a.m.
yeah, exactly. Next thing you know, it's 5 a.m. And but like, just being able to like have some of those hallway talks and talk to people that are kind of going through the same thing I'm going through. So like, I always talk about it, like whenever I like come in on like a Monday night after Monday mashup, I always call it group therapy. And it's for my mental sanity, it's done more than I can begin to talk about. And then at the same time, I'm getting to spitball ideas with guys like you and Jay and Nick and, you know, John and Bill Marsh. And like, I met Bill at AC, you know, years ago. And but like, we didn't know each other like that, you know? And so, yeah, I gotta say, it's honestly been one of the best things that like I've done for myself and in the industry. And like, now, like I can call, you know, like guys like you and Brian and Bill and a handful of other cats, like friends, you know, I guess like, you know, we've been hashing it out for months, for hours in here.
It's been good for me as well, because, you know, we're an open book, and, you know, we had a fellow that's like, oh my gosh, I'm having trouble with my DMX. And I was able to talk him through it over the phone. We came in here, he explained what the problem was. I said, okay, then we went separate and went over the phone. We went on our devices. So it's all like, a lot of give and take, but it keeps me energized. It keeps my brain going, and I'm doing music and lights every day. I've got the lights, my lighting rig right in front of me. So it's been good for everybody. It's just been too long. I want to get out. And
like we're all like ready to get it's been nice. It's been a good Band-Aid fix, but like we're ready to get back to work.
Yeah.
I signed up for a 2-week quarantine, not an hour or not a year and 4 months, but
exactly.
But all right, so Howie, now I got one for you. So now that you've been doing, lighting and sound and everything for forever, now you've gone from, heavy amp racks and very hot lights and dimmer packs to now computer program DMX. What's the journey been like over the years of everything? And what's it been like just adapting and moving and growing and learning from, Parcan rigs like AC/DC ran in the 80s till now where it's LED and you can click, 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 new light show?
Well, it actually started when right out of high school, I went into a factory, and I just happened, it was a new factory that opened up, and I applied for the job and I got it because I had a good work history, and it was union. I had seniority. I was one of the first hired. So by union laws, they had to post job openings. And when they posted one for an apprentice electrician, I signed up for it and I got it because I had seniority. And what this involved mostly was we had those big beer cooler type refrigerators you see at the bars for 6-pack takeouts?
Yeah, absolutely.
There were panels that were 2 of those wide, and they were full of these little modules. And they're called programmable logic controllers. And I just had a knack for it. I picked it up, and it was basically, pick and place. It would pick up a part and put it in a press, would make the part, and then something would grab it and put it on a conveyor belt and put another piece in, that kind of thing. But it was huge. It was a monster, and each one had to be, programmed, but they were just little rotary dials from 1 to 10. And, you had to develop a knack for it that the arm that was grabbing got out of the way before the press came down and wrecked it, type of thing. And I got really good at it. And then I started traveling with an engineering team, and I made a lot of money and then invested that in the rock and roll gear with the lighting and sound. And I just quit. And when DMX came along, I was like, okay, let's see what this is about. And the computer stuff, I don't know, it just came to me real easy. So I looked at, how DMX was done, and I said, this is just like those 2 giant refrigerators I used to work on. It's the same logic.
If
it's zeros and ones, and it says, do this, do that. Okay, instead of picking up an ashtray and putting it on the conveyor belt, I'm telling a mover to point this way or that way, change a gobo. And that's pretty much, how it works. It really is, zeros and ones. And I just happened to have an aptitude for it, and I built on that. Because we really do. We stand on the shoulders of giants that came before us. I mean, I didn't invent, anything new. I've come up with some clever ideas. I do have one patent, but
do you really?
Yeah, I have a
no
US
kidding.
patent. Yeah,
that's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What do you? What do you have a patent in?
What's that now?
What do you have what's your patent, if you're able to talk about it? What?
It was for Coca-Cola. I worked for Coca-Cola for a brief time in my area.
What?
And what they had was they would fill these 2-liter bottles of soda, but to make the machine run really fast, they would chill the soda down to 33 degrees. Not freezing, but really cold.
Almost
And
freezing.
It won't fizz up, and you can run the machine faster when you fill it. So they get more production. But when it comes and it goes into the cardboard box in the summertime and they stack them in the warehouse, they sweat. The cardboard gets wet and these things fell over. And it would cost them tens of thousands of dollars of lost product and so forth. So what I did was I basically built a 100-foot long by 40-foot wide car wash for the 2-liter bottles of soda. And all it did was I had a heat exchanger that would make hot water, and it had nozzles, just like in a car wash, and a big conveyor, and the bottles would slowly move through there, and I can adjust the speed to get it to ambient temperature. All I needed to know is what is the temperature in the warehouse. If the temperature is 90 degrees in the warehouse, that's what the temperature of the bottle had to be when it got out of there. And then, of course, I had a big blower that I actually bought from a car wash supply house that would blow the water off. And then they'd put them in the cardboard boxes. They could put them in the warehouse, and they were able to triple their warehouse space because then they could stack the pallets 3 high. Because warehouse space is expensive.
Yeah, well, thrown a couple of raves in my day. Like, yeah, warehouse space is expensive.
Yeah, so that's what I got the patent for, was basically a car wash for soda bottles.
So it's now interesting, the way you talk about patents and engineering and programming and electrical. When I was in high school, I was on my high school's robotics team, where we would build a robot in 6 weeks and program and build and paint and design and everything, build the whole mousetrap. And I got to build a better mousetrap than you build in 6 weeks. That seems like the thing that would be right up your alley. Here's the game. Here's the task. Here's your time limits, money limits, weight limits, size limits, all of the parts you're allowed to use and not allowed to use, and go. Like, that seems like just your kind of thing.
Oh, I love that kind of stuff. I mean, just for fun.
My mom's in the chat. What's up, Mom? How you doing? Mom, Howie, Mom.
Hey.
Her Twitch name's Mama Duke. So if you ever seen on Twitch DJ Darth Vader, his mom, so Fader's mom is on his chat all the time, and it's Mama Fader. So I've determined that there's like a thing about like moms that follow DJs on Twitch, and it's always Mama insert DJ name here. It's just my thoughts. But dude, that's so cool. I didn't know you had a patent in, like, I knew you were in engineering and electrical stuff, but I didn't realize it was that far. That's super cool.
I could not stay away from the music, though. I mean, they thought I was crazy, and I might be, for all I know. I mean, if I'm crazy, I wouldn't know it, right? But
that's it's funny.
I was making money. Larry and I figured it out. I was making $90,000 a year, and in today's money, that's $250,000. And I spent it all. I've seen everybody I wanted to see at the time, that, as far as bands go. I went places. I had the best equipment. At one time I had 8 complete sound and lighting rigs. I lived well. I ate well. I just didn't want to be that person that saved up and waited till they retired, and then I'm going to do all of this stuff on my bucket list. Right now, I'm living my bucket list.
Yeah, it's one of those that I know a lot of people that have, like, and I understand, like, save, because, like, I wish I had saved some of the money I'd made during my, really good years for a year like this. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, but at the same time, I've done some really, really crazy stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
And, it's one of the things, like, about travel is it costs you money, but it makes you richer because the things you see and the things you do, like, sure, having $80,000 in the bank is great, but if I died tomorrow, I've seen nothing, and there's just 80 grand in the bank for
right.
What, I can't remember who said it, but they said they want their last check that they ever write to bounce. And, you know, because you can't take the money with them, and, you know, they ain't got kids. So what's it worth? You know, leave it to the government. Okay. You know, so yeah, I've kind of like to a degree understood that, like, and it's, you know, if you got an opportunity to buy the maple syrup in Canada, buy the maple syrup in Canada.
Sure.
You know, it's worth it. Spend the extra $4, you know, enjoy it versus getting the Aunt Jemima that you always get, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, as I say that, as I drink Pabst Blue Ribbon, you know, I'm drinking for the taste.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get flagged by like John and be like, Dave, you know, you can't do that on DJNTV. No, but yeah, man.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on, Dave. We're going to end this portion of the recording for Disc Jockey News, but we're going to hang out and we're going to be in the chill room and we're going to be on your Twitch channel as well, aren't we?
Yeah, we still got until 11 o'clock, but we can keep going on my Twitch channel.
Alrighty.
So like, yeah, we can just keep riffing.
All right, we're gonna sign off here from Disc Jockey News, and you guys can then open up your cameras and mics, and if you have some questions for Dave. So thank you for tuning in, and have a good night.
There we go. All right, now I'm making it so we got other people in here. There we go. Now we got the whole.